Somewhere in the Indian Ocean, 2,000 miles from Iran's shores, a torpedo found its target. 130 sailors. No warning. The first enemy ship sunk by the United States Navy since the Second World War. Tehran is calling it an atrocity and promising America will live to regret it. Iran's foreign minister has issued a sharp warning to Washington following the torpedo strike that sank the IRIS Dena in the Indian Ocean, calling it an atrocity and vowing that the United States would live to regret it. Seyed Abbas Araghchi posted the warning on X on March 5th, hours after US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed a Navy submarine had sunk the Iranian frigate off Sri Lanka's southern coast on March 4th.
The U.S. has perpetrated an atrocity at sea, 2,000 miles away from Iran's shores. Frigate Dena, a guest of India's Navy carrying almost 130 sailors, was struck in international waters without warning. Mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret the precedent it has set.
The frigate had been returning from a naval exercise hosted by India in Visakhapatnam when it was struck approximately 40 kilometers off the coast of Galle. Reportedly, more than 80 sailors were killed. Sri Lanka's Coast Guard received a distress call at 5:08 am local time reporting an explosion aboard the vessel. The weapon used was a Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo, one of the most capable anti-ship weapons in the US Navy's arsenal. Introduced in 1972 and continuously upgraded since, the modern version weighs around 1,700 kilograms and carries a high-explosive warhead designed not to strike a ship directly, but to detonate beneath it. The physics of that is deliberate and devastating. The underwater blast creates a gas bubble that expands and collapses, breaking the ship's structural spine and causing it to split and sink rapidly. The torpedo can travel at speeds exceeding 55 knots and strike targets dozens of kilometers away. Thomas Shuggart, a former US submarine commander, told Fox News the strike carried a clear message.
This torpedo detonated underneath the stern of the Iranian ship and lifted it up out of the water, and so it sank in a matter of minutes. It definitely seems to me like a message that the gloves really are off.
Hegseth called the strike a quiet death and confirmed it was the first time the US Navy had sunk an enemy vessel by torpedo since the Second World War.
In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
With over 80 sailors dead and Tehran publicly threatening consequences, whether this remains an isolated naval incident or widens into something more is a question neither side has answered. Meanwhile, explosions in and around Tehran continue to wreak havoc, having killed at least 1,045 people since the war began. Al Jazeera reported that Israel and the US continued the relentless bombardment on March 5th. The Israeli military has said that it struck and destroyed a secret nuclear headquarters, which it identified as Minzadeh in Iran. Military spokesperson Effie Defrin said the site was intended by Iran to develop capabilities and knowledge towards obtaining nuclear weapons, without providing any evidence for the assertion.
A few hours ago, the IDF struck and destroyed the secret nuclear headquarters of Minzadeh. You can now see the headquarters on the screen, located partly underground in the city of Tehran. In these headquarters, a group of nuclear scientists operated covertly, advancing and developing capabilities and knowledge towards obtaining nuclear weapons. After we severely damaged their nuclear weapons development efforts during Operation Kelavi in June 2025, the regime transferred some of its capabilities to secret bunkers. The regime tried to restore its efforts and hide them, believing that we would not detect them. Throughout the operation, Israeli Air Force pilots took off for about 1,600 strike sorties across Iran and dropped about 4,000 munitions. Today, we have surpassed the amount of munitions that the IDF dropped in any operation. In the last 24 hours, hundreds of fighter jets and UAVs of the Air Force went on more than 300 consecutive strike sorties in Iran, in Lebanon, in Tehran, and in Beirut.
Defrin also confirmed the Israeli army had killed the commander of Iran's Quds force in Lebanon, Daoud Ali Zadeh, in a strike on Tehran. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baghai said Iran had warned that if a war broke out, it would become a regional conflict because the region itself is being used to launch attacks. Baghai highlighted that the Iranian armed forces are targeting US military bases and warned that Israel will seek to exploit the situation to spread fire and sabotage across the region.
We had warned responsibly, and our martyred commander-in-chief had warned that this war would become a regional war. This is because the region is being used for military attacks, not because Iran wishes to make the region insecure. Making the region insecure is a Zionist regime project, and unfortunately, the United States has also been dragged into this project.
Baghai also expressed hope that regional states would not allow such villainy to succeed, accusing the US of making lies upon lies, citing contradictory claims that Iran's nuclear facilities were destroyed while officials warned Tehran was weeks away from a bomb.
I am certain and hopeful that the countries of the region will not allow these evils to bear fruit. They must be cautious that the war that this regime is conducting, in continuation of the massacres it carried out in occupied Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, does not drag others along with it. Lie after lie and deception after deception. This has become the pattern of American diplomacy in this era.
Meanwhile, senior Iranian military advisor Major General Yahya Rahim Safavi said that Tehran knows the location of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meetings and has a complete intelligence database on his movements. Remarks that came just one day after a wave of rumors had swept social media claiming Netanyahu had been killed. On March the 2nd, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed to have launched a targeted missile strike on Netanyahu's office, describing the operation as a surprise attack using advanced Khyber-Sheikh and ballistic missiles. The IRGC provocatively declared that Netanyahu's fate was unknown, igniting a firestorm of speculation that the Israeli Prime Minister had been killed. Israeli media and officials moved swiftly to debunk the claims, confirming the reports were fabricated and noting that many viral posts had originated from accounts with suspected ties to Iran, with several images found to have been AI-generated. Netanyahu's office released photographs of him chairing a security meeting in Tel Aviv before he appeared publicly at the site of a separate Iranian strike, vowing to intensify military operations against Tehran. Israel's Channel 12 reported on March 3rd that a missile carrying a fragmentation warhead struck the central Israeli city of Petah Tikva. Earlier, a direct hit in Tel Aviv killed a woman and injured 22 others, with at least 40 buildings damaged across the city. Another Iranian missile had previously struck a synagogue bomb shelter in the central Israeli city of Beit Shemesh, killing 9 people and wounding 60, including children and a pregnant woman. CCTV footage captured an Iranian missile striking a neighborhood in Beersheba, with Israeli emergency services reporting up to 19 people lightly injured. On the other hand, Israel's Air Force dropped over 1,200 munitions across 24 of Iran's 31 provinces, targeting leadership, military, and nuclear sites. The death toll in Iran has risen to nearly 800, including victims of a strike on the Iranian state broadcaster. 6 American service members have been killed, with at least 10 dead in Israel.